Well, good morning. Thank you to everyone who has joined us here today. My name is Krista Weed. I am the Congresswoman's senior caseworker. One of my many aspects of the Congresswoman's office is assisting constituents with information, resources, and connecting them to benefits. With such historic legislation being passed last Congress, including the PACT Act, and as a member of the Regional Leadership Council, a group of 12 members of Congress appointed to lead the implementation and communication of this transformative legislation, it is important to the Congresswoman that she connects Delaware veterans and their families with these resources and benefits through her webinar series. Around the country, over 1 million PACT Act claims have been granted, yet only 5,140 in Delaware have been screened for their benefits. Today's webinar is an overview of implementation of the PACT Act, how you can find out if you're eligible, how to be screened, and even more. Our special guests and lead presenters from the VA are Cynthia McJunkin and Charlene Smith. Cynthia and Charlene will review their presentation on the PACT Act and other resources available to Delaware veterans. After the presentation, we'll turn to the question and answer portion of the event and review the questions you submitted ahead of time. If you're having technical difficulties at any point during the webinar or need assistance, please call our main line at 302-830-2330. A recording of the webinar will be available after the event on our website and will be sent out in our weekly newsletter. Now I'm going to turn it over to our VA presenters joining us today.
Thank you, Krista. Again, my name is Charlene Small, and I am from the Veterans Benefits Administration. And I am excited to go over an overview of this historic legislation and provide you with all the changes that have been made since its implementation on August 10th of 2022. Next slide. The full name of the PACT Act is Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics, otherwise known as PACT Act of 2022. And this started because there was a Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson who was deployed in 2006 and 2007 to Iraq. But unfortunately, he had lung cancer, and he attributed this to burn pit exposure. His family advocated for the implementation and the signing of this law, and they were with President Biden as he signed it. We are very excited to provide you with the additional overview of this PACT Act and to try to give veterans all the benefits that they deserve. Next slide. Now I will go over some key components of the PACT Act. It expands eligibility for VA healthcare for veterans, and this may include toxic exposures during the Vietnam era, Gulf War era, and post 9/11 era, but it's not limited. Anyone can apply if they were a part of other eras. Also improves decision-making and looking at medical conditions to consider if it's a presumptive status. Also, toxic exposure screenings, which you can do at the VA hospital, and education and training, research, and we're also building a stronger and more skilled workforce. This act also authorizes 31 new facilities across the country to have greater access to VA healthcare. Next screen. Next up. Also, for radiation exposed veterans, if you were at the cleanup of Inuitok Atoll, Palomares, Spain, or Toul Air Force Base, during these specific timeframes, we may be able to review your application and see if you are eligible for benefits based on your potential exposure during this time. Next slide. And here, this slide goes over conditions that are presumed to be service-connected. Now, you may ask, what does presume or what does presumptive mean? It means if you were located at a specific place, maybe overseas, in a particular country, let's say, for example, Iraq, Afghanistan, and you claimed one of these conditions, then the VA will presume or assume that you were exposed. It was important for you to recognize what are the conditions that may be related to your service. However, it's not limited to what is on the slide here. If you feel that your condition is related to your service and you were exposed, please definitely apply. Next slide. Also, for our Gulf War era and post 9/11 veterans, if you were in specific countries, for example, Bahrain, Iraq, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, on or after August 2nd, 1990, you may be eligible for benefits. And this also includes the airspace above in any of these locations. Also, post 9/11, on or after September 11th, 2001, countries such as Afghanistan, Djibouti, Egypt, Uzbekistan, Yemen, these countries you may be able to be eligible for benefits if you were located in these countries. Next slide. Now, filing claims to receive benefits. Some of you may be in one of these categories. Either you need to file a new claim, meaning you've never filed a claim before with the VA, or a supplemental claim, meaning your claim was denied before, and some of you may not have applied again. Well, since the implementation of PACT Act, you should apply again so that we can determine your potential eligibility for benefits. Or some of you are waiting for the status of your application and you have a pending claim. And you may not know that your condition was added to one of the presumptive conditions. Definitely apply or pursue and check on whether your condition is presumptive. Next slide, please. Also, survivors may be eligible for benefits under the PACT Act. And we want to make sure that you receive the benefits that you've earned and deserved. And this can include dependency and indemnity compensation, which is a monthly benefit, and also burial benefits, so we can honor your loved ones. Next slide. And now I will turn this segment over to Cynthia for the remainder of this slide. Thank you.
Cynthia, you are on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now? Thank you. Sorry about that. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Cynthia McJunkin, and I'm one of the supervisors on the military exposures team, and I will be speaking to you on the remaining presentation. One thing that is very important to us in the VA is our research. Some of you may not know, but VA has a long history of research and medical breakthroughs. Not only does the PACT Act require studies on health trends of post 9/11 veterans, but it also formalizes our presumptive decision-making process, by which many of our presumptives are streamlined based on toxic exposure in a manner that is very clear and transparent. VA will continue to gather as much science and evidence as possible to move swiftly on veterans facing serious illness due to military exposures. We will work with our partners, both internally and externally, to reduce the time it takes to reach a presumptive decision. increase our transparency in the decision-making process, and incorporate new and broader sources of science and data to evaluate possible presumptive conditions. Next slide, please. The PACT Act also includes screenings for all veterans enrolled in VA healthcare. Anytime a veteran comes into a VA facility, they will be assessed with a quick series of questions to identify and document potential exposures to toxins during their military service. These questions help veterans determine if they might be eligible for any additional benefits or care. This supports veterans' long-term health care and helps to develop a whole healthcare plan for veterans and may also indicate if a veteran may be eligible for additional benefits. The screening process asks veterans if they were exposed to any of these hazards while serving: open burn pits and other airborne hazards, Gulf War related exposures, Agent Orange, radiation, Camp Lejeune contaminated water exposure, and other exposures. This is happening at VA healthcare facilities now. Veterans can ask about the screening at their next VA healthcare appointment. If a veteran does not have an upcoming appointment, they can contact their local VA healthcare facility. And I would also like to add, if you do not receive your care from a VA healthcare facility, you may still participate in this screening. You would just need to call the facility and have an appointment scheduled. Next slide. So March 5th of this year was a very exciting day for VHA. They expanded their healthcare eligibility to all veterans who meet the basic service and discharge requirements and who were exposed to toxins and other hazards while serving. Eligible veterans may enroll directly in VA healthcare, including all veterans who served in Iraq, Afghanistan, the Gulf War, and any other combat zone areas after 9/11. And this is VHA's largest healthcare expansion in our current history. Next slide, please. So VA loves an acronym over here. So you will always hear us talking about a TARA, which is a toxic exposure risk activity. So what VA has done is we will concede that if a veteran was exposed to one or more of the following hazards, such as burn pits, herbicides, radiation, contaminated water, jet fuel, asbestos, and the list goes on, that the onset of one or more of any associated presumptive conditions may have occurred during active duty for training, or inactive duty for training while participating in a TARA. So now your question is, Cynthia, what does that mean? So it means if you served in Camp Lejeune and you have been diagnosed with a medical condition that doctors have determined that that condition is a result of drinking contaminated drinking water, VA will just say, oh, they have X condition because they were in Camp Lejeune, and set you up for an examination to see what your current disability level is, and the benefit will be granted. Presumptives are a much faster way of being granted service connection for disabilities. Next slide, please. So unfortunately, in the environment that we live in, um, there's a lot of people who are trying to scam and create fraud on our veterans because people realize that this is a population that is eligible for a lot of benefits. So VA takes this very serious, and we work very hard to get the word out to help people from becoming victims of fraud. Veterans can protect themselves from fraud and keep your VA benefits safe. We have all seen the commercials of Camp Lejeune, and we are seeing an uptick of attorneys providing ads based on recent changes in law for toxic exposure benefit claims. While some of these may be legitimate, it is important to know that it will never, ever cost you money to file a claim directly with VA. Veterans can submit their applications for VA benefits online via va.gov or in person at any regional office or with an accredited representative. So there are no cost or hidden fees for you to apply. VA works closely with accredited veteran service organizations, agencies, and attorneys to help veterans who need assistance. You should be very cautious of companies claiming to be contacting veterans on behalf of VA. We do not enlist private contractors to contact VA. These companies may not be recognized with VA and may be trying to charge veterans illegal fees. So, and again, if VA does call you, it will be by an employee. We will ask you for identifying information to verify that we're speaking to the right person. And we do not necessarily just have to identify you by your social security number. We can use other things such as what branch of the service did you serve in? What years were you in the military? So if you don't feel comfortable using your social security number, you can ask for them to identify in another way. Next slide, please. So now let's take a look at some additional resources that are available to help you apply for VA disabilities, benefits, and healthcare, just in case you have questions after this presentation. You can apply directly online at va.gov/PACT. You can ask a question online at ask.va.gov. And we also have a link where you can find accredited veteran service officers to assist you in filing a claim. For toxic exposure screening information, we have a link provided for that, as well as a telephone number to VA, that is a toll-free number, and also a link in which you can find a healthcare facility located near where you live. Next slide, please. And I would like to take this time to thank you for joining us today and to thank you for your service. I will turn it back over to you, Krista.
Yes, thank you, Cynthia and Charlene, for a great presentation. So now we are at the portion where we will take some Q&As that registrants have submitted ahead of time. So our first question for our panelists is David from Newcastle County has asked, how do I qualify for the PACT Act benefits and what proof is needed?
Thank you, David, for your question. As you can see from our presentation, we went through an overview of what you would need to qualify. But there is some proof that we may need from you. Medical records, personnel records, service treatment records are usually what we request, or any other evidence to substantiate your claim. But we have a duty to assist you to get those documents. So David, go ahead and apply for benefits and we'll help you with your proof. Thank you.
Okay, great. So our next question is from Nadine from Sussex County. She asked, I filed my claim in August of 2023 and it's still being processed. Is that normal?
Hi, Nadine. Thank you. That is a great question. We actually get this a lot. So everyone's application process period varies. It depends on the facts and circumstances of your case. As Charlene stated, we have a duty to assist, which means we have a duty to investigate. If you stated that you were exposed to radiation, that might take us a little longer. But what I would say, if you have any questions and want to make sure that your claim is processing correctly, you can reach out to your veteran service organization if you have one, or if not, you can reach out to your congressional representative and they will send an inquiry to the VA and we will get back to them with the status and also let them know if there's anything else that we need. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Our next question is from Valerie from Kent County. She asked, what happens after a military member has been qualified to receive benefits through the PACT Act and then passes away? What financial benefits can the family still receive?
Thank you, Valerie, for your question. Under the PACT Act, survivors may be eligible for VA benefits, and this can be death, dependency and indemnity compensation, and burial benefits. Survivors may be eligible for monthly payments if the veteran's death was due to a service-connected condition.
Okay, great. And our last question is from Teresa from Kent County. She asked, will it affect negatively the disability benefits that I already have?
Hi, Therese. Good morning. Very good question. So the answer is no. It will not affect your benefits that you are currently receiving. So please feel free to submit an application for your benefits today. These are benefits that you have earned and deserve. So we look forward to seeing your claim.
Well, thank you again, Cynthia and Charlene, for joining us today. For everyone who tuned in to listen to the presentation, we hope you learned some valuable information. As a reminder, you can view the recording of this webinar on our website and in our weekly newsletter. Please sign up for our weekly newsletter to learn more on our next webinar when it'll be held. I'll drop the link in the chat now. If you have any questions, you can please feel free to reach out to our office at 302-830-2330. Thank you and have a great day.